So plans for the next few weeks. As I mentioned in the Teams meeting, I've put some bits and pieces together so that you kind of know what your upcoming assessments are due in early in December, how you and your training are going to be developed over the next 2 weeks, and some information about your mental health. So first things first, your first assignment is due in on the 2nd of December. It is basically you producing 4 1-hour training session plans covering 4 areas. So cardiovascular training, resistance training, flexibility training, and speed training. So you're going to incorporate elements of all 4 of these types of training in your session. Most of you have done this already, but I want you guys to kind of be up to date and making sure that you can get the very best grade possible. Your session should last 1 hour, so there should be 4 1-hour sessions. The 4 1-hour sessions should obviously show some progression, so they should be lifting the same weights in the first session as they do in the 4th session. I'd probably use an example of these sessions, so a session from week 1, a session from week 2, a session from week 3, a session from week 4. It should be for an athlete either in their off season, so that's that period of time where they are not playing competitive sport. So for example, Sam's would be probably May to August time, where there are no longer any football matches, or in the pre-season where they're kind of ramping up and training quite hard to get ready for that actual in-season. So again, for someone like Serene, that might be end of August, beginning of September, just before the competition or the competitive season starts. When you're writing your 4 training sessions, you need to take into account the FIT principles. You've already written about this at length, so that's frequency, intensity, time, and type. And you must refer to that when you're planning your actual sessions. Your session must cover a range of exercises. So we're talking about pushing and pulling movements. So ideally, I'd like to see for every pushing movement, there'll be a pulling movement. So if you're going to do squat, make sure you do deadlift in that same session. If you're going to do bench press, make sure that you do either like a pull-up or an inverted row to balance out the pushing and pulling movements. When we talk about order of exercises, what I'm saying is you don't want to do your conditioning piece first and fatigue your muscles so that you can't either lift explosively or lift powerfully or lift heavy weight in your sessions. So if you think back to our training sessions, what I tend to do is I warm you guys up, we do a strength component when you guys are reasonably fresh, and then we move into our metabolic conditioning. I also, for those of you that want to actually do really well in this, I want you to express exercise intensities. So we're talking about when Ben did his jerk, he managed to jerk 60 kilos. That was probably 100% of his 1 rep max. I don't think he could have lifted much heavier than that. So when you're looking at jerking motions in your strength power section, Ben might say 30 kilos, 50% of his 1 rep max, and he's referred to that. When we're talking about intensities in cardiovascular-based stuff, it might be, if you think about Becky when she's running, she's got quite a high heart rate, but your maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age. So it should be 204, 203, 202 for you guys. So that would be 100% of your heart rate. You might set a session where you don't want your athlete to go above 80% of their max heart rate, which would probably be like 165 beats per minute. You've got to outline repetitions, okay, the rest and sets, but I've kind of detailed that anyway in the actual example that I put on Teams. Really simple. What you do is you jump on Teams, you look at the next assignment, which is due on the 2nd of December. It's fitness training, 1 times 4 sessions. You'll see it on that section. You click on basic info, and what you'll see when you click on basic info is something like this. You have 4 of these. I've written this for you and uploaded it, so all you have to do is on Word, or you can copy it down on a piece of paper, fill in that information, and what you can do is you can fill in things like age, gender, height and feet, height in inches, so it's going to be maybe 6 foot 2 inches for someone like Sam, weight in kilos. You don't have to worry about the chest or waist or body fat, but you might want to refer to BMI, so all you do is you type in your height and your weight into a BMI calculator on Google, and that'll probably give it for you. So for your warm-up, you're going to select an exercise, so it could be running, 2.5 minutes, just body weight, 60-second rest. You might do it 2 times, Yeah, and you might say, make sure you're running at a steady pace with the extra information. When you move into strength, it could be a squat or it could be a clean. Strength and power are kind of something that you kind of work with. So you might want to say you're going to squat 3 repetitions at 60 kilos. You're going to have 60 seconds rest. You're going to do 5 sets of it. And you're going to make sure that you break parallel every time on your squat, Tyler. As you move into the cardio, you can see that I've got here, for example, a cardio session would be a rower, 8 minutes, level 5 on the resistance on the rower, 2 minutes rest, 3 sets, and make sure that you don't go above 180 beats per minute. So in that extra information section here, I've highlighted peak at 180 per set. So what the athlete will end up doing is 3 lots of 8 minutes, which is 24 minutes. That'll be not a bad cardiovascular component. And again, in the cool down, you want to think about different types of stretches, how long you're going to be holding those stretches for, how many sets, and what recovery you would have between those. You would do that for each of those 4 sessions, and what I'd like to see is gradually weight increasing on the movements that you've selected your athletes to do. So maybe on your first session, week 1, session 1, it might be 5 lots of 5 at 60 kilo on back squat, and 5 lots of 5 at 60 kilos on deadlift. When I'm looking at session 4, I'd probably like to see it at maybe 70 kilos or just above 70 kilos. What I don't want to see is a session that, if I looked at it, would take way longer than an hour to do. Okay, so we need to be mindful of, you need to think about, right, if I actually did this, or you could do this at home, the movements, how long would it take? Taking into account you're going to allow 60-second rest in between sessions. So for example, if it was a back squat and you did 10 lots of back squat, and you rested 60 seconds, it would probably take a minute to do the back squats, a minute to rest, so that's 20 minutes worth of the session kind of gone already. If you did the row, which would be 8 minutes, 2-minute rest, okay, 3 sets, that would be 30 minutes. So almost your entire hour has been taken up with those movements. So just be mindful of that. So that's pretty much self-explanatory. You need to make sure that, in the athlete aims and examples, you might want to say, I want to increase muscle size, increase endurance, develop explosive power, lose body weight or body fat, or for example, in Jack's instance, deadlift 180 kilos. So you must kind of tailor make, if you're going to write that information in this area here, it kind of needs to make sense that these sections here kind of match that. That's the thing that you should really be working on during this isolation period. However, when we come back to college, on the 7th of December is the energy system presentation. So that is an oral presentation, so you're going to have to upload you speaking about your presentation onto Teams. I know that Agbalate and Leo have already started uploading that, which is really good. A lot of you have done this energy system information, so you've outlined the different energy systems and how they work within sport. You've defined aerobic energy systems, lactic energy systems, and phosphocreatine energy systems. And you should have been able to discuss each energy system, the fuels used. For example, aerobic, you use 32 ATP is produced from one molecule. The amount of ATP released, the byproduct, so lactic acid produces acidosis in the muscle, and both lactic acid and phosphocreatine take about 1 to 2 minutes to kind of recover before you go again, whereas aerobic is pretty much you're always ready to go and recover as a result. So those are the kind of things you need to be talking about, in your presentation. You need to mention how they kind of work together in exercise. So, for example, Talia works predominantly in the ATP PC. She's a very explosive athlete, but once she's done her heavy lifts, there's going to be an element of time where she's in a glycolytic, very short, and an element of time where she's recovering and is slightly out of breath from lifting that heavy weight, okay, and is in that oxidative system. For example, Serene might spend, because she runs and stops and runs and stops, she might be spending a lot of her time in that glycolytic period, but maybe in the half-time, short 2 or 3 minutes, she's in that oxidative period. And right at the start of her game, when she's sprinting to get that ball, she taps into the ATP PC, phosphocreatine system as a result. So those are things that we need to be working towards, and making sure that we can articulate that in our presentation. So what I'm kind of thinking you guys are going to be doing is if we take Becky's for example, Becky might have a copy of this, out in front of her. She might use her computer like I'm doing right now, and she might talk through the different energy systems. So once she's recording it and talk through those different energy systems, she might say what ATP is. She might talk about the three main energy systems, and then she might refer to a picture like this to say how it kind of fits in with her training as a golfer. She spends a lot of her time in the ATP PC, but as she's walking around the golf course, she's in that oxidative system, and in the training sessions, the S&C sessions, she's in that glycolytic area so that she can cope with both the ATP PC and the oxidative training when she's actually performing in her sport. Right. This period of lockdown, I don't want you guys to become fat and lazy. No fat and lazy people in the 79 Sports Mentoring. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload 3 training sessions a week on the WhatsApp. It'll be video based, and I'm doing it so you won't fall behind in your conditioning. I'm conscious of the fact that some of you don't have resistant training equipment, so there will be 2 options. There'll be a bodyweight session, and there'll be a session for either those that have a dumbbell, kettlebell or barbell. Each session will have a warm-up, main activity and a cool-down, so I'll be planning 2 different sessions. I'm going to be doing that on a Monday, Wednesday and Friday, so that you guys will have something to do during that period of lockdown, so again we don't move backwards. It'll be tough. What I'd love you guys to do is I'd like you to post videos of you doing that workout onto WhatsApp to kind of spur people on. Mention your times, the weight that you use, so that people can sort of aspire to either challenge you or beat you. I'll be doing at least one of these options with you guys as well, and I'll post my time up so that we can keep moving forward with our training, because I know that's very important to you. Okay, so make sure you stay in contact. You guys are really good at talking to your friends through various different social media sources. You can message me via Teams or WhatsApp. I'll get back to you. Just in case you guys are going to miss my sweaty face, I've put a little video or little photo of myself training so you don't forget what I'm like. I miss you guys. I'll be in contact with you Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 12 o'clock, just to touch base to make sure you guys are okay. It's mandatory that you attend. Simple reason is it's a way of me ticking off my registers to say that you've engaged in the course while we're in this isolation period. Miss you guys very much. Again, any questions, contact me. I'm there for you. All the best.